Hello, this is my video on or after watching a board meeting. I've got my notes here, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit. Um, the Board of Education meeting that I attended virtually was for the Conejo Valley Unified School District. Conejo Valley Unified School District serves many students. They have 32 different schools. They do elementary, middle school, and high school. And in 2014, it reported that they had a little over 20,000 students in all of their schools. The location of the meeting was in Thousand Oaks. The address was 1402 East Jans Road, Thousand Oaks, 91362, and that is part of Ventura County. The reason I picked this school is because after I finished my degree, after I finished my credential and my master's degree, I wanted to go ahead and move out to either the Thousand Oaks or Ventura area, and I'd love to work in that school district. So I thought picking that would be a great place for me to kind of get to know the board members and see what it's going to be like if I do end up achieving my goal and moving out there. The board president. The board president is Betsy Connolly, and then there's 5 elected members of the board, and that's not counting the superintendent. The board meets every first and third Tuesday of the month. This meeting was held on October 1st, but because it was online, I was able to watch it on October 1st and thereafter. The types of business that are required to be addressed during a board meeting are pretty much anything related to education. What the board, Dr. Betsy Connolly, what the board president said about it was that she likes to cover all important education matters, and then they also discuss anything on the agenda. Things that aren't on the agenda can be discussed, but they must be discussed before they get to the agenda. If you want to discuss something on the agenda, it has to be discussed during its section of the board meeting. This board meeting was a little over 2 hours, and it was held in the district office, a large room. It had a podium for parents and different speakers to come up and say what they had to say. It also had the very front of the room, which was like a judge type of tabling where it had all of the board members and the superintendent. They also had somebody transcribing the meeting, and then they had a bunch of folding chairs in the back for people that were attending the meeting for them to come. Everybody's welcome at board meetings. It's open to the public, so they encourage people from the community. They encourage people from the school. They encourage students, parents, teachers, staff, pretty much anybody that wants to come and talk at the board meeting. They're more than welcome to. If there's an issue that comes up that they want to raise concern for, or they want to put, in other people's minds, that's where they would want to do that. They'd want to come to the board meeting. Upon arriving at the board meeting, if you do want to speak, you either have to fill out a blue card or a yellow card. The blue cards are for people that want to come up and public speak. They get 3 minutes total to speak at the meeting. The yellow card is for those who don't want to speak right then, but want to raise some things of concern to the board members. That kind of covered the general format and atmosphere of the board meeting, as well as the types of business the board meeting addresses. Something I found really interesting was that a lot of parents came up and talked, and a lot of parents were really upset. Not a lot of positive things were brought to the attention of the board. It was all concerns or complaints or annoyances. A lot of upset parents at this meeting. One of the most frequent things that was talked about and that I found really interesting was that the parents were under the impression that the not part of the school, but a booster club that is closely associated with the school broke the law in charging students for summer school. According to one of the ed codes, there's no charging for anything educational related while in school, and parents had been charged for students to attend summer school for elective or getting ahead. And a lot of parents were super upset about that because according to their understanding of the law, that wasn't allowed. Afterwards, that wasn't really addressed. The board members thanked parents for bringing that up and kind of clarified on the issue with the lawyer they had. They had the lawyer come up and give a statement. But other than that, they didn't really discuss whether or not the law was met. They said they had a lawyer that said it wasn't, but wouldn't disclose the name of the lawyer. So I don't think parents are going to be completely happy with that result or feel like their comments or issues were resolved quite yet. So it'll probably be brought up at the next board meeting. A lot of parents also came up and then yielded their time to another speaker. So each speaker only gets 3 minutes while they're up there. But if someone yields their time to you, you get that extra time. So there were 2 or 3 people that would come up, yield their time to the next speaker, and then that speaker would have 9 or 12 minutes to speak. Because they all had the same issue and they wanted that speaker to convey their problems. I also noticed that some of the issues seemed politically based. I noticed a lot of parents saying that the school needed to do better at making a middle ground and not making things just liberal or conservative. And I found that really interesting because I have actually been to another school board meeting before when I was younger. My mom's a teacher, so I've been to, I think, 2 of them with her. And politics never really came into the meetings, or at least the ones that I went to. So I was really shocked, I guess you could say, to see the political party vision that even showed up in a school board meeting. I just found that really insane. And I'm thinking that that's because there is so much political adversity going on right now. And there's a lot of issues with cross parties. And I think that's, showing up everywhere in our daily lives and including in school board meetings. So I found that really interesting. Something else I found really interesting was that a parent brought up GATE and that she was upset that nothing had been done for GATE and that nothing was broken for GATE, but nothing had been fixed either. I think that it's a fair point to want to make sure that we address the GATE kids, but I think most schools do have a really positive GATE program from what I've seen, and they do get that extra support and help, or not help, but extra work and motivation to kind of move them along at the more advanced rate that they are. But apparently that parent feels that GATE needs to be addressed more seriously or more in depth and have more practices or changes. She wants something to happen with it. And I thought that was an interesting topic because I would never really, think too much about GATE because I do think it is a positive program and I don't think it needs much changing, but maybe it does at their school. Something she said though about GATE was that the teachers right now aren't being trained on GATE, and I think that she's misinformed. Maybe the teachers that are there already or have been there for 20 years haven't been specifically trained in teacher prep programs about GATE, but I know I've read a lot about GATE, and even in our textbook, it brings up GATE and kind of covers what GATE is and does a lot of that talking about GATE, and I think teachers now, or teachers that are in the teacher prep program now, are being prepared for things like GATE, and it was sad to see that the parent didn't see that. And so had I been there in person, I wish I could have, shared with her my experience with the teacher prep program, and that maybe not right now at her schools, but hopefully future teachers will be more educated on GATE and be able to advance what she wants from GATE. Members of the PTA also spoke in this meeting. And pretty much what I found from the meeting was just, it did relate to a lot of the things that we've been learning in our textbook. Specifically, the chapter that came to mind was when we learned all those terms like superintendent, board members, and all the inner workings of a school, not what you see on the outside, but all those puzzle pieces that help put together the district and the standards, or implement, the codes and pass different areas of school legislation, or not legislation, but school rules and procedures. I just found it really interesting to kind of see the backbone of the school and how it works. Not just up front looking at the students, looking at the teacher, looking at the principal, really examining the district and the board members and all those tiny cogs that we don't really see. As I mentioned before about GATE and that being in our teacher prep textbook that we're reading for this class, other things that I found that were in the teacher prep book that I kind of related to what was going on in the school board meeting could be not so much classroom management, which is what we read about this week, but that's something you would see more in the everyday classroom. Something else that I noticed was diversity in the school board meeting. You had a lot of diverse parents from different cultural backgrounds and ethnicities coming and talking, not as much as I feel you would have at a urban school in LA or even a school out here in Lancaster. But what we were seeing with the diversity in this school board meeting in particular was that some parents were proud of their political party and made sure to say, you know, some are conservative, others are liberal, and made sure to identify those political party divisions, as well as low income versus higher income. Being in the area of Ventura County, Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park types areas, they are going to be a higher income, higher social economic status. However, there are still students in that region that are going to be lower income and have different types of issues and things that happen to them that we discussed in our textbook, like, you know, having English language learners, so their parents don't speak English at home. So you have to work to make sure you connect with the parent and involve them in everything as the teacher. And there weren't any teachers that spoke at this meeting, mostly parents, PTA members, volunteers, and then the superintendent and the board members. But it was really interesting just to see that parent point of view and how involved in their students or their children's educations they were. I mean, they're spending, 2.5 hours of their Tuesday evening to come to this board meeting and talk about these facts and things that they think are important. And I think that really does relate to parent involvement, and as a teacher, making sure that we involve those parents. And if an issue does come up, that we show a united front and we support that parent by attending a board meeting or by meeting with them when they need to, or just really doing whatever we can to support their parents. And that's pretty much it and what I got out of the board meeting. I'm pretty sure I touched on everything that I have written down here. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.